We're going to get into my final Bears mock draft here in just a moment, but here's the deal. This is the time to subscribe to Bears Now here on YouTube because I'm going to break down every single pick that the Bears make. Whether it's live or whether it's with an individual video for each pick, we will bring you that video. So subscribe, turn on notifications. This is it. This is the time to get in because it's about to ramp up over the next couple of days. Welcome into Bears Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Like I mentioned, this is my final Bears mock draft, at least final mock leading in to round one. We might do a day 2 mock after round 1, so stay tuned for that. But full 7 rounds. Here we go. Let's get into it. Bears currently have 6 picks. We'll see if I make any trades. All right, no trade at pick number 39. Yes, Tyler Linderbaum was still on the board, and there's been some chatter that he could slide into the second round, which, by the way, I personally would find absolutely ridiculous because I think he's a plug-and-play center that can start for the next decade plus. Good athlete, quick on his feet. Guy played 6 sports in high school, which is ridiculous. Our draft analyst, Tom Downey, who came out with these scouting reports, says, don't be dumb. Dude is a stud. Only a center, so it's a little bit of downside. He's probably not going to give you much guard flexibility. So I will say this. If you draft him, you got to tell Lucas Patrick, hey, you're playing guard. I know we signed you to play center, but we're kicking you out to guard where you've played in the past. I do think there's a chance Linderbaum falls to the second round. I would put him in that category of about 5 to 7 other guys that should go round 1, like a Treylon Burks, like a Jahan Dotson, Kenyon Green, but could fall to round 2 because there's always surprises. And hey, not everybody can go in the first round. Somebody is going to slide. And I think Linderbaum could be one of those guys because certain teams thinks he's too small, not strong enough. I think he's a stud, and I think he's going to be really, really good. If you plug him into this offensive line, he plugs in at center, Lucas Patrick plugs in at right guard, and you're good on the interior. You're good to go. I think Tevin Jenkins will start at right tackle. Then you just got to figure out left tackle. Maybe you draft someone later. Maybe Larry Borom proves to be that guy. Maybe, and I think more likely, you would sign a vet after the draft like an Eric Fisher or someone else. But if Linderbaum's on the board, it's going to be really hard to pass up on that player. Some other guys that were available when I made this selection at number 39, Lewis Cine, the safety out of Georgia, Kenyon Green, the Texas A&M guard. I've taken him in my last couple mocks, so I wanted to go different. With Linderbaum still there, I opted to go in that direction. Jahan Dotson, the Penn State wide receiver, was still there. Tyler Smith, the offensive lineman out of Tulsa. And then, not that the Bears would draft him, but Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati, was available as well. Now, I want to know, would you draft Tyler Linderbaum if he fell to the number 39 pick? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I absolutely would. I think it would be a home run selection for Ryan Poles. Round 2, pick number 48. I explored some trades, but you know what? At the end of the day, I couldn't pass on Lewis Cine, man, the safety out of Georgia. I think he's a round 1 talent, and if he's sitting there at pick number 48, safety's not your biggest need, but I think he plugs in right next to Eddie Jackson and plays really well instantly. Really good tackler. He can play in the box. He's got free safety, strong safety flexibility. I think initially he'd be your strong next to Jackson, who I want dropping back into coverage this year. Reads routes well. He can cover tight end, slot receivers. Better in a zone scheme, and Bears are going to be running a lot of zones, so I think that fits as well. Like I said, I simply couldn't pass on the pick here. This is a pure best player available pick. If the Bears end up with Lewis Cine, I'm not going to hate it because I think he's a good player. I think he's a round 1 talent, and if he falls to round 2, I mean, guys, Ryan Poles says we're building a good football team with good players. Lewis Cine is that. He absolutely is. And let's be honest, just because safety isn't a major need, you've got Eddie Jackson. I still think you need a strong safety. Plus, you can move on from Jackson after this year. So you're going to need players at that position, whether it's free or strong safety. So I think Lewis Cine is a guy certainly worth drafting if you are Chicago. Make no mistake, outside of a couple of positions, the Bears can absolutely improve across a lot of its roster. Other players that were on the board when I made this selection, Desmond Ridder was still available. Kenneth Walker, the Michigan State running back, was there. Drake Jackson, the USC edge. Chad Muma out of Wyoming. DeMarvin Leal. Another way I looked at this too, the wide receiver market wasn't great at this point. A lot of the ones I liked in this range were already gone. So, again, I took best player. I explored some trading down options, but I said, you know what? I think Lewis Cine is a starter from day one, and if you can get a starter in the second round, that's pretty good value. Should the Bears trade down in round 2? So I'll ask you, type T for trade down, type D for don't. You want to stay at 39 and at 48. Look, I would like to trade down, but if they end up with Tyler Linderbaum and Lewis Cine, are we supposed to complain about it? I don't think so. I think they'd be doing pretty well at the end of the day. Plus, you can trade down from 71 like I did here with the Cleveland Browns. I traded 71 and 150 to Cleveland for 78 and 118, so I moved down 7 spots. Pick up a 4th while trading a 5th, so I think pretty good there to get an additional top 120 pick. And then guess what? I traded again from 78. So I traded 78 to the Steelers for 84 and 138. So in 2 trades, moving down from 71 to 84, I pick up 2 4th-round picks. I would do that if I'm Ryan Poles, because a lot of the draft experts say the meat of this draft, 3rd and 4th round. So get a couple extra picks in those rounds, and you're doing pretty good. So at round 3, pick number 84, offensive lineman again, Nicholas Petit-Frere out of Ohio State, who he's a flawed prospect, but I think in round 3, he's got potential. Plus, he's blocked for Justin Fields before at Ohio State. Did struggle last year a little bit. He was better in 2020, which, that could tell you a couple of different things. One, was the work ethic there? Did he just have a bad year? But 2, also, there's tape out there of him playing really, really well. He's good in the run game moving forward. Traits are there, but you look at some of the tape, like against Michigan, he got pushed around a lot. At the same time, you're going up against Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. It's a tough matchup for him. He's got flaws. He's got the size. He's got the quick feet, though. He's got the potential to be a starting left tackle. Now, I don't know if you draft him, if you're just like, yep, he's ready to be our left tackle from day one. I would still go out and sign someone, or at least make him compete with Larry Borum or even Julian Davenport for that left tackle spot, but it's possible you're getting a starting left tackle here, and I think in round 3, that's pretty good. I think you're doing pretty darn well if you land on this type of player in the 3rd round. A couple of trade downs, still get a left tackle prospect. I like how this fell for Chicago. Other players who were on the board when I made this selection, a couple of cornerbacks, Martin Emerson out of Mississippi State, Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati, Wisconsin linebacker Leo Chenal, Isaiah Spiller, the back out of Texas A&M, and then Isaiah Likely, the tight end out of Coastal Carolina. Now, we're going to be breaking down every single pick of this year's NFL draft on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV, all Bears draft breakdowns. We'll also break down every pick here on Bears Now as well. But if you're just interested in the draft as a whole, if you want consistent live coverage throughout, Chat Sports, baby, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Thursday through Saturday, it's going to be a marathon. We're going to have a hell of a time. All right, so I finally get a receiver with one of those trade-back trades. Calvin Austin, round 4, pick number 118. I know some of you guys have been asking, could you wait until later in the draft to get a receiver? Well, the way this draft fell, I did, and I still think you could be getting a starter here with Calvin Austin. Really small, 5'7", but he's fast, he's quick. I think he can start in the slot. He was a sprinter at Memphis, track guy there as well, and he could be your punt returner. 2 touchdowns over 29 returns. That's, pretty decent amount of the time he's finding the end zone. 2 out of less than 30. That's a pretty good rate there for Calvin Austin. This draft is deep at receiver. You could get a Calvin Austin, a Khalil Shakir, a Wan'Dale Robinson in the 4th round of this draft. I'm not saying don't draft a receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round. I would prefer that for Chicago, but I'm not going to force it. I didn't force it here. Linderbaum was there at 39. I took him. Lewis Cine was there at 48. I took him. Didn't like options at 71, so I traded down. Got another offensive lineman in Nicholas Petit-Frere. Get a receiver with one of those trade downs in round 4. That's why if you can get some 3rd, 4th round picks, a couple extra selections here if you're Ryan Poles, you can fill a need at receiver at 3-tech. One of these other spots, depending on how the draft falls, that's what happened here. I think Calvin Austin gives you another speedy weapon for Justin Fields. How many wide receivers will the Bears draft this year? Predict it for us. I think probably 2. We'll see on when they get drafted. I think 2 linemen, 2 receivers, and then 2 to 4 other players makes a lot of sense. But again, it all depends on how this draft falls. Trade alert again, number 3 here. The Vikings just offer me all the picks. So I said, okay, I'll get some volume here. 138 goes to Minnesota for 156, 184, and 250. Seventh round doesn't do much, but, he dropped 18 picks. You pick up, a fifth, a sixth right there. So I don't mind it. I thought about keeping 138, but I said, I'll go volume here. I'll take 3 extra picks for 1 here. So at my next pick, which is pick 148, I still have that selection, which is an initial Bears pick. Michael Clemens, the edge out of Texas A&M, JUCO guy, grew up in Garland, Texas, goes JUCO, and then transfers to A&M. Had 7 sacks last year as an edge rusher. Got better each and every year. This is one of those classic developmental guys. Wasn't even on draft radars 18 months ago. He'll probably be a mid-day 3 type of guy now as well. You can't have enough pass rushers. Like, if there's anything we should all know watching the National Football League, you could not have enough of these guys that can go and get the quarterback. I think he could come in, be a rotation guy, get like a Mario Edwards type where, he could give you a couple of sacks as a rotation pass rusher. I think in round 5, that's kind of what you're looking for. Guys who can contribute, even though they're probably not going to be starters. All right, so kind of looking at the rest of this draft, I'm not going to break down these guys. Incredible depth. 4 more picks here because I picked up those extra picks by trading down. Caleb Evans out of Missouri, round 5, pick 156. I like this kid, 6'2", almost 200, pretty decent athlete too. I think if he's there in round 5, the traits are pretty solid. I don't think he's a day 1 starter, but hey, let him go compete with guys like Kendall Wilder and Duke Shelley and see where he stacks up. Matt Henningsen, the defensive tackle out of Wisconsin, I think he's a depth 3-tech guy. Had a great pro day. Didn't even go to the combine, but tested really well at the pro day, well enough to get drafted, I think. JoJo Domann, the linebacker out of Nebraska. I think you need to draft at least 1 linebacker. Domann is a pretty good athlete, can get sideline to sideline, so you get him in the 6th round. And then Bo Melton out of Rutgers. I've seen him get 3rd or 4th round buzz. So remember, these mock draft simulators are all over the place this year, but if he's there in the 6th or 7th round, 6'2", pretty good speed, that's great value for Bo Melton to add another receiver in this draft. So there you go. That's my final Bears mock draft leading into Thursday night. How'd you feel about it? 9 players. We focused on the first 5, then we kind of sprinted to the finish line there. A, B, C, D, or F. How do you feel I did this time? And hey, don't be afraid to rip me in the comments section.